And you know, it's an exciting moment where we come once again and bring Agents in the Trenches, the real raw truth of what agents are experiencing in this new market. The market is no longer shifting, it has shifted, and we are the ones that need to shift. So today I'm super excited because we have an amazing guest that's going to be unveiling, unpacking, pulling back the curtains on how do you go from no one to someone, right? How do you go from that? And how do you go from just getting into something ground up and building a monumental business? And so today we're going to be hearing about that. But as usual, I want to bring on my partner here. I want to bring on my running partner here. Talia, how are you? How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. Well, you know, we've been working on a lot of stuff. We continue to innovate. Innovation is the new currency in my world. And, you know, there's a lot of new things that we're working on. But one of the latest and greatest is continuing to foster relationships with people like the one that we're going to be inviting to join us in just a second. And really, you know, watching someone flourish, you know, after being in the business for 23 years and knowing the struggles and knowing that, you know what, everybody sees our glory, but they don't really know our story. And behind every great story and behind every great comeback, there is blood, there's sweat, there's tears, there's moments of wanting to throw in that towel. There's moments of saying, I don't know what else to do. And then suddenly breakthrough happens. So are you excited to hear about our guest today?
I am super excited. I think it's going to be an amazing topic. It's definitely something that has been very hot in the past, year and some change. So, super excited about it.
Well, I'm just going to say a couple of things because there's no one that can be this person better than this person themselves. I'm the first one to always say, listen, there's no one that can be a better Lucy Quinones than Lucy Quinones. So don't imitate me. Don't see me as competition. See me as someone that you can just emulate and take the good, right? But this person, and I don't even want to say a name because this person is so famous by now. I'm sure people will know the name or will know who I'm talking about if I say the name. But this person literally went from the basement to the beach house in 4 years. I saw this person start from zero, I mean, brand new into this real estate world arena and really just turn it upside down, leaving a mark, making history, making headway. You know, I am going to just let this person speak about themselves because again, they know the ins and outs. And I just want to sit here as a student and absorb everything we're going to learn. So drum roll, please. Here we have the one and only Nick Krem.
Hey, what's going on, ladies? Good. Thanks for having me on.
I can't believe I have the Nick Krem, the man himself, right? Tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself to Lucy's World in Southwest Florida, because there's a lot of people that are going to be watching this on replay or not, or they're going to join us live. Tell the world about you, who you are, what makes you tick.
Man, I feel like that's a very loaded question. So my brother and I started our own business about 4 years ago. We went to a mastermind that just absolutely changed our life. A lot of people that I know that are in your circle too are at this mastermind. We came back, sold everything we had, including the car I had at the time, moved back into our parents' house and started our own business. In less than 2 years, we grew it into 13 countries in all 50 states. And from there, we just tried to stay ahead of the curve, stay ahead of the game. And 6 months ago, and actually just now, we launched the Krem Institute of Artificial Intelligence. We got published in the U.S. Times, Moguls of Business, with the work we're doing in artificial intelligence and real estate. And now I'm happy to be here with you, Lucy and Talia, and just be on your show with you guys.
This is incredible. And I love the way you say that. I love that name. Tell me the name of your institute again. I love it. It sounds like futuristic. It sounds like G.I. Joe, the Terminator kind of stuff. Tell us the name of your institute again.
Yeah, it's the Krem Institute of Artificial Intelligence.
Wow. But you know what? Before we get to this moment, and I remember when I first met you, and there was a running joke that I was going to take you back with me to Colombia. And
it's still not a joke. I still plan on going with you to find my wife there.
All right, we got to do it. It's still a promise. I'll bring you with me.
Yeah.
But you know what? I remember you were just you were just getting started in this world. Take us back a little bit. Give us some of the real raw truth of those days.
Yeah, it was, I think that was before I even moved to Orlando at the time. I was still living
Yes.
up in Cleveland. And that was like the first event that I traveled and spoke at. So I spoke at Rebecca and Josue's event. We passed in, what's it called? We passed in Vegas. They're like, hey, you're going to come out and speak in Orlando. I'm like, yeah, sure. You hear these things every now and then. And then wouldn't you know, a week later, Josue reaches out to me. He's like, you're speaking at my event, right? I'm like, I guess I am. So, we flew out there, and that was our first business, content cards, when we were first getting started. I mean, that's a whole story in itself of some things that we went through to get it started. But, it was first event we went and spoke at, and you guys just embraced me with open arms. It was great being in your circle, just coming down there, speaking at the events, hanging out with you guys after, and just starting to experience what that kind of life could be like.
But you know what? You have an energy, Nick, about yourself that you are just a magnet, because I remember that, yeah, there was a lot of people that didn't know you in my circle. I didn't know you.
Yeah.
But where does that come from? Who did you inherit that from?
That's a tough question. It's, I get asked that a lot, like, where do you get your energy from? And I feel like I've just always kind of had it. I always joke with my mom. They stopped after me because she's like, yeah, I was like raising 3 kids in one, right? I gave her her hands full, but, I think it's, I don't know. I've always had this energy. I feel like deep down, everybody can do something a little bit better than anybody else on this planet.
Yes.
And like, to me, it's, I was blessed with amounts of energy that, part of it too was, so just going back to high school, my senior year, I played 1 year of high school football in Ohio. I don't know if you know, Ohio's a pretty big football state. And I ended up going all state that year. Went to college to play football, and I screwed it up bad. I partied more than I should have. I got basically kicked out after 1 year. And you know what? After losing something you love because you didn't try hard enough, that's the worst feeling. Knowing that you had something you loved in your hands and you just didn't try hard enough to get there, that's a terrible feeling. And I found something I loved again, and I'm never going to let my energy or effort be what holds me back from getting to that next step.
Wow. So you went through some type of setback, right? You went through some setback. That was a moment of retrospect, right? Everybody write this down, retrospect, right? A setback. The power behind a setback is you can take a moment of, retrospection. But when you're talking about what you felt, right? I lost it because I didn't appreciate it. I lost it. I let it go. Maybe it was my moment. But talk to me about that comeback.
Yeah.
Because I love a good, solid, real, raw story of comeback.
Oh, part of it here, 100% accountability, 0 excuses. So I was introduced to that. That changed my life. Because, when I left there, I'm like, oh, I didn't really love it. I was blaming the world and everything but myself.
Preach
right?
it.
And then, so I was actually, it's a funny story, Lucy, so Natalia. I was about to start a factory job. My dad, so basically after I left college, right? Like college for the year and a half, I went back to college kind of. I bounced around jobs just enough to be able to go out and party, like 2 or 3 years. And, I was living at home still. And finally my dad's like, all right, look, we gave you some time to figure some things out. He's like, you either get a job or get the heck out of the house. I was like, some people are like, how can he say that? I'm like, dude, he let me live there like rent free for 3 years. I would have kicked my ass out 2 years ago, right? But so at this moment, I was about to start working at like a factory job. I knew deep down, like, this isn't what I was meant to do. I didn't want to do it, but I had no plan or idea. And I'm sitting at a gas station at like 8 p.m. the night before I'm about to start there. And I know once I start there, I'm probably not going to leave. Because it's one of those things, you get a 9 to 5, and it's like really hard to break that cycle. Mm-hmm. And then I get a call from my cousin's husband at the time. And he's like, I have this opportunity. And it was working as an ISA, inside sales agent. And it just so happened to be Al Stasik's company too.
Oh, wow.
So really, an Al Stasik, he presented me this offer. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm in. I don't know what it was, but I just knew, I'm like, I'm not meant to be in a factory. And the funny thing too is, Lucy, I tried getting sales jobs for like 2 months. Nowhere would hire me because I didn't have experience. I'm thinking back and I'm like, I came in there with this amount of energy. You didn't think I would be good, but they were like, you don't have experience. So there I was. I took this job and I went back home and I told my dad, I got kicked out still because I didn't take the steady factory job. He's like, you're going to take this job? And he's like, so, that was like the first time in my life I was able to stand up. He's like, you either take this factory job or you're out. I'm like, you know what? I'm out. Packed my stuff and left that night. And then I ended up, I was living on my buddy's couch and like, it was only like 6 months to a year before I came back home. But I was looking back on it and, that was a tough time, like living on buddy's couch. I was dialing like 15 hours a day. I would dial 8 a.m. on the East Coast to 8 p.m. on the West Coast. So for me, I just dove head in. I hated the phone. Actually, Al almost fired me after the first week because I was so bad. Because I was so nervous and in my head. And then I broke out of my shell eventually. But yeah, from there it was just haven't really looked back.
So I want to break it down a little bit because this is agents in the trenches, right? And there's a lot of agents out there that are having pity parties, right? There's a lot of people. Listen, we all go through a pity party, right? And then there's a lot of people out there that are settling. I want you to speak to the people that are settling. I mean, if you could ask me, Lucy, what is your biggest passion right now? Is to rescue those that are drifting in the settling of playing small, of not getting sold out on themselves, on, believing all the negative chatter. So talk to the people right now that are watching live or that are going to watch on replay. You had a moment where you could have taken the factory job. Yeah. Okay. You even like betted on yourself and got kicked out of your house because you were like, no, there's something inside of me that tells me no. Yeah. Talk to my audience. Talk to the people that are settling. They're sitting on the fence. They're having a pity party. They're dead. They're in their head because they're scared or because they have a million excuses. So talk to those people. You need to talk to them. Preach it, my brother. Preach it.
And first, I just want to preface that story. And just because my dad sees this, I want to let him know that he should have kicked me out years ago. So when you hear, how could he kick him out? I'm not the Nick you see here today when I was there back then. But here's what I would say. I would relate back to the football days that I had, right? I was pretty damn good. I played 1 year high school football and I was great at it. Went all state, went to college, and I will never know what could have been because I decided to settle and just say, you know what, I'm good. I had enough, and that was it. That feeling of never knowing what could have been in your life because you don't try hard enough, because you believe the outside noise that's going on. You start taking other people's excuses and indoctrinating it into your life. Man, I'll tell you what, I just want to ask the people out there that are deciding to settle, that are thinking about settling or just saying it's the market. In 5 years, 10 years from now, when you look back to this moment today, will you be able to tell yourself that you tried everything you could to make it work? And if you can't, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't wish that feeling on my worst enemy. That is a terrible feeling. When you look back and say, and the only person who can really know this is yourself. That's the tough thing. Can you lie to yourself? Yeah, but that's a whole nother bag of worms. That leads to a lot of negative actions when you start lying to yourself. When you look back to this moment in time, because I promise you this, there is opportunity in markets like this. This is where I think the biggest opportunities lie. When most people are settling, most people are drawing back, and there's a little blood in the water, there is opportunity and money to be made. So when you look back at this moment 5 or 10 years from now, will you be able to tell yourself you tried everything you could inside of you to make it work? And if the answer is no, you're going to have a tough time sleeping. You're going to have a tough time doing anything. It's a tough life when you know you didn't try your hardest.
Wow. I've got goosebumps.
Yeah.
I don't know who needs to hear this. I know somebody needs to hear this. And everyone that's watching right now, share this with a realtor friend. Share this with everybody and anybody. You just said, you dropped, forget about the fire. You dropped the atomic bombs right now. That you're talking about is called regret.
Yep.
It is what everyone that has built an empire, reached their ultimate success in life, everyone that has been there and done that. It's what the Steve Jobs of this world talk about when they say, when you reach your end, regret is the worst feeling. And you just transported everyone, including myself, Nick. Thank you.
Yeah.
To the future. And you're saying 5 to 10 years, will you say that on June 2nd, 2023, you settled, you pulled back because there was a little blood in the water, or you gave it your all? Boom. Tell us more, man, because there's so many people playing small right now. Listen, realtors are jumping left and right into jobs. I'm speaking to them almost on a daily basis. I'm bringing them hope. I'm bringing them the message. There are salespeople that are playing small right now. There are people that are shrinking in the face of adversity. Like, we have adversity. Listen, all of us have adversity, right? I ain't gonna shrink. I'm gonna step up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna step out.
Yeah, and I think it's just, what the fuck are you made? What are you made of, really? What are you really made of when it comes down to this? This is when the market's open, when the market's doing these things, it's easy to have easy go lucky attitude. It's easy to smile and kind of get a couple deals. You know, like before, you didn't even have to go and compete on listings. You would just walk in and basically you're the only agent. And it's just, I think it just goes back to, what is the reason you got into real estate?
Right.
Don't think about, oh, I did it to do, I don't think anybody got into real estate to do deals. I don't think that's the core thing. Go back to the core of why you wanted to get into this field. Most likely, if I had to make an educated guess, financial freedom, time freedom, or one of the both. Providing a better life for the loved ones that you have. And again, are you willing to get down into the trenches and provide that life? Because if you don't, your loved ones after you are going to have to get in the trenches.
Yes.
You have to decide, are you willing to get into the trenches so your loved ones don't have to? Or are you going to just sit there in the trenches and just fall asleep, go to sleep, and just say, you know what, I'm throwing up the flag? Because at the end of the day, people got into real estate because they wanted to live a certain type of life. But a lot of people didn't know what kind of work had to go into it. And one of the quotes, I think it was Ice Cube, like, don't be mad about the results that you didn't get for the work you didn't, for the results you didn't get for the work you didn't do. If you actually look back on it, I know so many people are tracking the wrong numbers in their life too. They're tracking, oh, how many deals did you do this year? Like, no. How many emails did you send out? How many contacts did you make? How many phone calls did you make? If you know those numbers, those are your KPIs. The other ones are the lagging indicators. The amount of deals you do is entirely dependent. How many phone calls did you make? How many social media posts did you make? How many emails did you send? And if you go silent, that means you aren't even trying.
Come on.
You aren't even trying. You are just complaining. And you know what? You get the fuck out of me in this room. Because if you aren't willing to do the work, you will not be a good agent. You have to it comes down to, I believe in just making decisions. You have to decide whether you want to be a real estate agent or not. If you want to be a glorified order taker, go work at 9 to 5 and go take orders from someone. But I bet you came into this industry because you didn't want to take orders. You wanted to make more money. You wanted to have time freedom. Well, guess what? You got to put in the work then. So don't come on here and tell me like, oh man, it's just not working out for me. No, you're just not working out.
Listen, it's getting hot in here. It is getting hot in here. I want to leverage, you said so many things, right?
Yeah.
You said you got an opportunity to go work at Al Stasik's ISA company. I mean, He is a massive producer. You said you were dialing 15 hours a day. I struggle getting people to have 15 conversations a day.
Yeah.
As a trainer, as a leader.
Yeah.
What do you think is that X factor that people are missing? Let me tell you, agents in the trenches, Nick, and you and I both know that. I think that's why we align so well. There has to be an X factor to us. There has to be an X factor that makes us tick, man. And people are lost in the woods. They have no clue what day it is when it comes to building their empire.
Yep.
They do a lot of this, but it's not this. It's what you just said. What got you to stay? I mean, you took a licking and kept on ticking because you said you were just going to get fired. Yeah. There was something you had to have done.
I didn't know it at the time, but I knew I sucked. I knew I sucked at first.
What was your X factor?
So I think there's a couple things, but I think it really comes down to, because I hear this excuse all the time. I just don't have what you have, Nick. I'm not as energetic as you. I'm like, hey, that's a good excuse. I'm like, if that makes you sleep at night, go ahead. To me, I think it 100% comes down to what are your core values. I got 2 of them on my wrist with another one coming on the way. Like, what are your core values in which you live your life? And it's not even just business. Live your life. And I'll tell you mine right here. The first is 100-0. 100% accountability, 0 excuses. Are you taking accountability for the dials you're making? Are you taking accountability for the amount of deals you're doing? Are you taking accountability for creating your own economy and not just relying on the one that is given?
Right.
Well, I think at first it comes down to, it all revolves around core values. My second one's win the day. I'm going to do something to win the day every freaking day. Every single day. And then the last one is just show up. Not just show up and be there and be like, okay, I'll make dials. Show the frick up every single day. If you're going to do a dial session, get happy, get in front of it. And I got some tactics to like do that better. But to me, it comes down to core values. If you live by your core values and you abide by them, you're going to make dials because you have to win the day. You're going to hold yourself accountable and you're going to show up. If I ask, how many agents, if I had to ask you a number, Lucy, or Talia, let me ask Talia here. Let's get Talia.
Let's get her in the conversation.
How many agents, percentage-wise, do you think know their core values at like the back of their hand? Can sit here and name me all of their core values if I ask them right here on the spot?
A percentage?
Yeah, a percentage.
Maybe like 5%.
Maybe 5. Maybe 5. And I think that might even be high.
Wow.
If I ask someone, name me your core values, they're like, and most people have like 20. I'm like, if you got 20, you got none, because you can't even name me 5 of them. Like, that's why we got 3. We got 3. They're all over our house. They're all over our house. I have them here. I have one of them tattooed on me somewhere I'm not going to mention. And we got like, this is how we live. For me, it's just, it comes down to core values. The X factor is core values.
Yes.
They're not sexy and they're not cool, but they involve discipline.
Yes.
That's what I would.
So I want to ask you, because I'm always thinking about the new agent, because I talk to a lot of new agents.
Yeah.
So someone that's coming in from a 9-to-5, right, who was conditioned, right, to take orders. Yeah. Now they're in the other seat, and now maybe they don't really know what core values are. They don't have it. Yeah. So what would you tell that agent? How do they establish that core value for themselves, right? And how would you guide them in that way?
Get a coach. You know, if you can't afford a coach, get on a good team. Get on a team and just know that, guys, I think this is a big thing for new agents. You aren't, the broker isn't interviewing you. You are interviewing the broker, because technically the broker works for you. The team lead works for you. Why do I say that? Because when you do a deal, guess who gets paid? You are technically paying them. Don't get it twisted as far as, oh my gosh, I get to be on this person's team. No, interview the broker, because technically they work for you. The team leads work for you. Figure out who, like, you are going to end up paying them. That's how this works. You do a job, you close a deal, you pay them. Based on what you pay them, what are they offering you in return for your services? So I would say go into there and just, you want to see a team leader broker kind of squirm, ask them their core values.
Oh.
Just ask them like they're on the spot. Like, because they're going to tell you, they're going to sell you a rainbow if they can. We have the best coaching, training, this. Great. What are your core values?
Yeah.
What are your core values? What do you do to live by them? Go in there and interview them, not the other way around. Look, let's be honest. If you're a new agent, 99% of teams and brokerages will take you on their team, no matter what. They don't care. Truthfully, a lot of them don't care. Most of them will take you no matter what. Don't go in there thinking you're interviewing for a job or any of this. Go in there as an individual that's like, all right, I'm interviewing you. What will you do for me?
Right.
How are you going to help me in my business? And then ask them that question. What are your core values? And if they don't know them, don't go there. Because I'll tell you what, sales world can be a tricky world to navigate. And if people don't have core values, it gets even harder.
You said something super powerful. You said people are shrinking back because they're seeing a little blood in the water.
Yeah.
This is Agents in the Trenches. I mean, guys, for those of you that just jumped on, this is Nick Krem. He's gone from the basement to the beach house in 4 years. He went from zero, being a nobody, to a somebody. I mean, he has helped top producers write their own books.
Yep.
He has put multi-million-dollar media platforms together for top producers. He's worked alongside major mega producers, like you just said, Al Stasic. But he also slept on a friend's couch. He also got kicked out of his house. You know, he also knows the pain and the suffering and the sacrifice and the sleepless nights of putting in the work and not seeing the results. So I want to ask you this question. What is some of that blood that you know agents are seeing in the waters? Like, let's break it down, because in my mind, I'm like, listen, I want to find the agents in my area, Southwest Florida, that want to do exactly what you said. Raise their hand and say, listen, I can't hold myself accountable to save my life.
Yep.
But I'm willing to live by core values. I'm willing to live by your guidance, your accountability. Help me, you know, to grow, and then, hey, launch off, right? Go take over the world. So
You know,
what's some of that blood that you're seeing in the trenches?
I think it's really just, if you look at any very successful person throughout history, every single one of them had to suffer. I mean, suffer. Go through something. And, you know, we read these stories, we see people on stage, and a lot of times it's always talking about the good things and things that happen. You look at anyone who's really successful, you might read about it in books and like, oh, this person went through this person died, their brother died, this happened. And everybody who is really successful had to suffer. But most people, when they get to suffering, they're like, this isn't what I signed up for. Or they get to the point where it's like they just had enough and they throw in the towel. And these, to me, my brother has a saying that we say around here. When some real bad shit happens, whether it's in our life or in business or even in the economy, we say, pop the champagne. Pop the champagne. Something's great is right around the corner. Right after suffering, there's something great happens. Right when the economy drops, there's something right around the corner that's gonna, like, billionaires are made when the economy tanks. When the economy, like, it's not even tanking right now. When the market shifts, billionaires are made. And it's just saying, am I a winner or am I a loser?
Right.
Because look, if you're throwing in the towel, I hate to say it, you lost. You are just telling yourself, I tried and I lost. One of my favorite Michael Jordan quotes is, I never lost, I just ran out of time. Like, I'm like, dude, that's me. We have a quote on our wall over here. It says, I never lose because I refuse to stop.
There you go.
The simplest thing to do is also the hardest. Like, guys, business isn't, like, let me say this. Business is simple. It's not easy, though. It's not easy because it's so simple that people try and complicate it more than ever. Like, especially with everything that's coming out, CRMs, AI, all these things, people try and overcomplicate it. I think that's where almost everybody fails, is they overcomplicate it. You want more business, make more calls, get in front of more people.
Right.
It's simple. But no, you don't have to go out there and buy a magic funnel that will solve all your problems. Never make a call again. Like, all these people are just trying to sell agents the dream. And I'm like, I wouldn't even want that, because nothing in this life that's worth having comes easy. So, like, I think it's people coming into it with the wrong idea that, oh man, I'm going to sell. I'm just going to make as much money as I want. I'm going to have all the time freedom. No, you're going to have to suffer. You're going to have to suffer and give things up in your life in order to get to that next step. And you just have to ask yourself, the blood in the water, that's people suffering. And then you see people throwing in the towel. Are you willing to suffer to get to the next step? To me, it's really simple. And, you know, and just a quick story too, Lucy, is right when we started our business, this is when we sold everything we had. We moved back home. We were about to launch a nationwide campaign. That's how we were going to grow our business. We had 20 events lined up to go across the country. And this is when I didn't even know how we were going to get there. Honestly, we didn't have enough money in the bank to even get to these places, but I just figured I'd sell enough at the next place, or I'd call my mom. I would do something to get there. And we are about to do 4 events in 4 days in New York City with the man, Vincent Q himself. We were about 3 days away. And you know what happened, Lucy? You know what I have to tell you? COVID hit. So literally our entire business model sank overnight. All the money, everything we built up to for months, gone in a minute. and there's nothing we could do about it. I pouted for about 30 minutes, and then we did Live with Leaders. I don't know if you remember Live
I remember Live with Leaders.
That came
Wow.
because as the world stopped, people were in fear and there was blood in the water. We're like, you know what? Let's do a virtual event. We had over 10,000 agents eventually tune into this virtual event.
It was a full day. It was like the whole day.
It was about 9.5 hours.
Yes.
9.5 hours. And actually, NAR, it was funny. They copied our event. They launched it the day before ours and they called it Leadership Live. I'm like, oh, you guys. But you know, we had a great event, and literally our business blew up into multiple states overnight. But you know what? We put on that event. It was just my brother and I. It was just us. I communicated with 16 different speakers. Got 16 speakers, some of the highest ones across the country. As people were scrambling, not knowing what to do, we just started our business and we're like, you know what? We're going to do this. And then we got 16 sponsors for the event. We sent out emails. We came up with graphics. We barely slept. We didn't even know if it was going to work until minutes before.
Wow.
It did anyways. And it just came down to, you know what? I feel like a lot of times too, one of my favorite quotes from my coaches is, if you don't ASK, you don't GET. No,
right.
like I had to ask all 16 speakers if they wanted to do this. I then had to go get sponsors. If I was traveling, and there were times when I'd ask my mom, like, look, I'm at this event and I got no money. I had to ask my mom for money. Like, are you willing to bet on yourself?
Right.
If you don't, you're just betting on someone. You're just a tool in somebody else's bet. I don't know, like, yeah.
Wow. This is so powerful, and there's so many people. Now, let me ask you a question. Are people like you made or born this way?
Made.
Are people like you made or born this? Because there's gonna be people watching, and like you said, and people tell me too, you know, but Lucy, you've been doing this so long. But Lucy, you know, you this or you that, you know, all these crazy excuses, right? Because they're excuses.
Excuses, yeah.
So are people like you made, or you're just born this way?
150% made. All of those things that you're telling yourselves are excuses. You're just giving yourself an out because it's easier. And you know, and this is where, again, just coming back to the suffering, like, this is a hard market for everybody.
Yeah, for everybody.
You know, the numbers are up. They're having to do things. People are made through suffering, I believe. You have to go through some shit to be made into that individual. Because now I'll tell you what, Lucy, with some of the things that we've been through, I feel like, granted, there's still going to be some things that come out of nowhere that still faze me, but lately it's just kind of like things that I knew would have just rattled my world before. Now just like, oh, okay. Like,
right.
You know, just don't stop.
Because you're building that toughness.
Yeah. I mean,
you're building that experience.
Just recently, we were in a business venture, and I'm not going to get into all the details, but we're going to change the industry in a lot of ways. And we ended up just not being with right people. It was great idea, wrong people. We invested over hundreds of thousands of dollars into this, man hours into it, and overnight, just gone. And then we're like, that's when my brother looks like, pop the champagne. And then, you know, about 6 months ago, we launched the Krem Institute of Artificial Intelligence. We just got into that. And we're just like, you know what? We're going to make a shift. We see where the world's going. We're going to make a shift. And to me,
there's something I keep hearing about what you're saying, and it's you don't stop. You don't stop. You said, I pouted for 30 minutes. You said, I got kicked out of the house. I said, okay, I'm leaving. You said, this didn't work. So I went over there and I did the other. You don't stop.
You know, and it's,
don't stop.
Like when people say, like, if you're walking through hell, why would you stop? Then you're stuck. Like, and again, these things are simple. It sounds simple, but when you're in it and your emotions are involved in it, it's hard.
Yeah, it hurts.
It's simple. It's not easy, but it is simple. Like, and that's where I think people just overcomplicate it. Like, you want more business? How many dials did you make today? How many people have you contacted? Did you go up and shake hands at the grocery store? Are you reaching out to everyone that you know that's your real estate agent? Well, no. Why? Well, I did that. Like, you know damn well what
I don't have time. I don't have time. Really? We all get 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What do you mean you have no time?
And it's, you know, I think it just comes down to who are you around too.
Right.
You know, recently it's me and my brother. I'll tell you what, if you know my brother, he ain't letting me make any excuses. He'll call your ass out real quick. And that's why I love him. Like that's a big reason why we're here. You know, and to me, it's just don't stop. Like if you stop, you're quitting.
Yes.
If you stop, you're moving backwards. There's just no reason to ever stop. And it's just, I think it just comes down to how bad do you really want it?
How bad do you really want it? So tell us a little bit about your university, the Krem Institute of Artificial Intelligence.
Yeah.
How did that come up? How did that happen?
Man, so it was our people. We have a research and development team on the back end. They kept coming to be like, dude, you gotta check this out. You gotta check this out. You gotta check this out. I'm like, all right, let me see it. And then I saw it. I'm like, wow. So we cut over 50% of our staff, increased all our production, everything coming out of the one end. And I just saw it as, this is changing the world. You look at the biggest companies in the world, they're spending billions of dollars to get ahead. I'm like, well, a lot of times in business, you just have to follow the money. This, like, it is going to change real estate, whether people like it or not. It will not replace the agent, but an AI-powered agent will replace the average agent. That is not even a question. The AI-powered agent will replace the average agent. And, you know, I just think it's amazing things that are happening right now. Like, just for example, so ChatGPT is the biggest one that everybody knows, fastest to 1 million users in history of any app. They're owned by Microsoft. What people don't realize that's happening right now is Google is running for their lives. Google, everyone thought that like, oh, you don't even say, I'm going to search something. I'm going to Google it. Google is being dethroned.
Yes.
Right before our eyes. They're being dethroned as the #1 search engine. So here's what I would tell all the big teams who have been sitting on their high horse all these years. Watch out. Because then a solo agent using AI can now outmarket the biggest team in the area. All that overhead and all those things that you guys are clutching onto, marketing divisions, videographers, video editors, graphic designers, a solo agent who uses AI can now drastically outmarket you with better content, better quality. And you know, it's just only a matter of time. There's going to be a huge shift in the industry that a lot of people won't see coming until it happens. And you know, at the Krem Institute of Artificial Intelligence, we are having agents leave here and just are absolutely taking over their market share. Because once you control the mind share, you control the market share. So there's going to be a huge shift that's happening. And here's what I tell people. If Google's not too big to be dethroned, neither is the biggest team in your area.
That's true. That is so true. So, oh my goodness. So you and your brother have just been working silently behind the scenes. Like, yeah, we see when you come out and you say, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Yeah. I can help you do. Talk to our audience a little bit about the hours and the pain and the, you know, Coach Michael Burt said it best. He said, people need to put passion into what they do. And people don't understand what passion really is. And he broke it down. He said, passion is suffering.
Yep.
Passion is bleeding. Passion is going through, you know, agony, right? But you got to go through it, because on the other side of that passion, that pain, that suffering, and I tell Talia all the time, listen, I ain't stopping. Yeah. I am not stopping. There's no reason to stop. There's nothing to stop for. If it don't work as an ABC, I'll turn it into B, C, and A. And if not, I'll do a C, A, and B. And if not, I'll do an X, Y, Z. I'm not stopping. I'm not going to stop.
You know, I think it's, I was asked a really good question recently. And they asked me, what's harder? What did they say? They say, which one do you think is harder? Figuring out what you really want or having to do the work every day to get there? And then most people are like in the group are like, oh, having to do the work every day. And he's like, if you figure out what you really want, the work becomes simple. The hard thing is really figuring out what you want. Like, because when you really figure it out, the passion is, it's easy. The passion is there. But you have to ask yourself, like, figure out what you really want. It's not a car. It's not a house. I'm telling you, you might say like, oh, but I really, really, really want this car. I'm like, okay, congratulations. You really want that car. Is that what you want out of your entire life? At the end of your life, if you say, I got that car, you'll feel fulfilled. Like, and I feel like it's bigger than just your why. Because honestly, I'm kind of sick and tired of that. I mean,
yeah.
Your why. And it's like, Coach Burt talks about like just your because goals. Like, wait, I'm going to go because of this. I'm going to do it. But to me, it's what do you really want out of life? When you figure that out, passion just seems like necessary. You know it's going to happen. But I think to me, it's just, you got to figure out what you want. You really do.
You do. You got to have clarity. Clarity is everything.
Yep.
So listen, I wanna respect your time, and I know we got to bring this to a close. But what would be your number one advice for those people that are sitting on the fence having a pity party?
My number one advice, basically, it's a choice. It's a choice. It's a decision. You can decide to feel bad for yourself, and it's simple. Or you could decide to do something about it. You sitting on the fence, you're deciding to pity. You're deciding to just give up. Sitting on the fence, to me, it's already given up. So it's a decision. It's as simple as that. Don't overcomplicate things. Don't give yourself excuses. You just have to decide, are you going to do something about it or not? And it really is that simple. You can start, like, I've heard as many stories, I'm sure, as you have, Lucy and Talia. But my life, I'm going through this. I'm going through this. I'm going through this. Well, what the hell are you going to do to it? What are you going to do about it? Because that's all you can control, what your action is or reaction to something. So you can tell me any story you want. What are you going to do about it? And it's simple. Everybody, I've heard stories, and look, my background is nothing compared to what some of these other people have went through. Like, yeah, I got kicked out of the house. I had a friend's couch to sleep on. Some people didn't even have that. People have came from literally nothing and done more than I even have. What the hell is your excuse? Oh, the market's slow. That is just the worst. Like, it's just an excuse. So do something about it. Yeah, just do something about it.
So I want you to close out with that post that caught my attention, because it just totally touched me at the core. Because it is the truth of every person that has come a long way or some way. I don't care if you've been in real estate or in business for 5 minutes, 5 months, 5 years, or 50 years. Nobody escapes.
Yeah.
Nobody escapes. You could see my glory, but if you only knew my story, nobody escapes, right? So when you wrote about what you wrote about, I'm like, this is exactly what people need to understand, because our mind, our brain is telling people it's the market. I don't have any time. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. Listen, realtors are jumping ship and getting dead end jobs. And it crushes my heart to see them go build somebody else's empire, right? When they could be building their own if they would work as long and as hard as they're doing for other people. Like, I don't get it, but I get it. I'm just not going to shut up about it.
Yeah, I love it.
What was that post? Tell us that post. Oh my God, it just thundered. That was big. That was
I heard that one. Yeah, it's writing over here too. It was just, don't stop. You're sitting there, you're feeling bad for yourself, just don't stop. And just keep telling yourself that. I'm just not going to stop. It's not going to stop. I mean, right on the other side of all that suffering is glory. Like you said, you see my glory, but only if you saw my story. If you sit there, and here's the tricky part about it. The longer you sit there, the more people start lining up on that fence with you. And and then other people start justifying your story. They start justifying your excuse. Why? Because it makes them feel better about themselves. I'll tell you what, I mean, I just think back to, I remember, and it's tough. You're going to lose a lot of people along the way. Like, I remember I was at this one old buddy's place, and he asked, like, hey, what'd you do last week? And I just told him what I did. I went to like 3 different states and did these things. Like, I didn't ask you to brag. I'm like, you asked what I did last week. I just told you what I did. Like, don't make me feel bad, because I'm doing a lot more than you.
Come on.
You just worked all last week. You asked what I did. I told you. And I'm like, you know what? If I feel bad for telling people what I really did last week, then I'm in the wrong room. Like, you sit on that fence long enough, you're going to have bar stools next to you, because that's most likely where everyone's going to end up with. Like, sitting there, everybody pouring their hearts out, telling you all the reasons why they didn't make it. They got injured in high school, or else I would have done this, and this. Like, you're just going to get around a bunch of people who give excuses. And look, if you want that, there's plenty of that out there. There's plenty of it out there. But you just have to decide, do you want to live a life of excuses or accountability? Really, it's simple. And again, like, when you hear this, it's like, oh, that's so simple. Like, it can't be that easy. The hardest thing that I think to understand about life and business is it really is that simple. It really is.
Nick, I don't know if anybody's ever told you this, but you are a volcano. You are an erupting volcano. I admire you. I just had a vision. When I tell people I had a vision, they're like, oh my God, watch out, because it always comes to pass.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing a Vision Builders mid-year mastermind.
Yeah.
You will be on my stage because my world of agents needs to feel your fire. They need to feel your rumbling. They need to hear you. I mean, I commend you. I commend you for going from the basement to the beach house. You're just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, I'm inspired. I got goosebumps.
Same
And all
here.
of this. What do you think, Talia?
No, it's been amazing. I've been taking notes over here because I'm just soaking it all in. I'm like, wow, just hearing you talk. I mean, it's really inspiring to hear your story and how you got to where you're at now. And I agree with Lucy 100%. We need you on that stage because you're going to move a lot of lives, and it's going to be so exciting.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Talia. Thank you, Lucy. And you know what? I'm going to leave you guys with this. I shared a stage with this billionaire like recently, and we didn't even know he was one until he got off stage and we were talking to him and he just dropped it. I'm like, wow, that's the most casual way to. But, you know, he said, like, who here is going for success? And everyone's hands skyrocket. Success. Like, you're doing it all wrong. He's like, strive to be significant. Be the most significant person in other people's lives. Be the most significant person in your clients' lives, your family's lives, and you will be successful. So don't stop worrying about your own damn success. Whose life are you going to go change? What clients are going to go be the most significant person because they didn't know if they were going to get in a house or not, or sell their house? Strive for significance. Success will follow.
Mic drop.
There you go.
Thank you, Nick. God bless you. We'll be talking soon again. Thank you so much. All right, guys, this was the best of the best. Agents in the trenches. Don't stop. Get it. Don't stop. Get it. Don't stop. See you guys later.
Awesome.
Enjoy your day. Take care, Nick. Bye, Tali.